Hey, what is going on, you guys? My name is Rayge, and we are back today with a quick video on overall right now what's happening into the game in terms of the state of the game, as well as the required screen time now if you are an endgame player. So just for reference, guys, 100% free to play, and right now my collection power 16.8 million, with my strongest team power being 1 million. So definitely been long overdue. I definitely need to make a video on my roster overview, but that's not going to be the highlight of this video. This video, I really want to talk about kind of, typically right now as an endgame player, how much time are we putting into each game mode and the types of things that maybe potentially Scopely and the Marvel Strike Force team should be looking into, because, as this game progresses and you're trying to get newer players into the game and mid-game, you got to be able to kind of account for the screen time that's involved right now. And I do admit that it is getting quite heavy in terms of what you can expect from someone that, let's say A, typically has a full-time job, or B, they have other interests outside of playing Marvel Strike Force, such as going out playing sports, or maybe they even have kids, right? I know it's busy from the day to day, and I will say that a bunch of other mobile games that I play on the go, this one for sure is the one that's most in terms of management, of being able to have to log in and claim this and that. So, let's break it down, guys. So first and foremost, got a quick screenshot here, kind of like what I broke down, and I went through each game mode and kind of asked myself, each day, how much time am I spending per game mode? And do let me know what you guys think in the comments below if this is comparable to yourself. And keep in mind, guys, I am an end game player, so what's available to me in game modes might be a little different from what typically you're involved in. For example, in my earlier account right now, I'm playing an alternate account in Baby Rayge, and I know that I'm doing more of my campaign stuff. But as you can see here, once you're done with campaign, you don't need to do it ever again. You basically just farm the nodes, so it's not really included in this countdown here of the math per day. But just keep that in mind. Context of where you're at in the game is gonna be dependent and indicate how much you're spending per day in terms of time. So first and foremost, with Arena, I've been consistently in the top 50, top 100 Arena for actually the last pretty much the entire year. After I built the Darkhold team, haven't built them up and just kind of left them as is, and they've been kind of just doing their thing. So Arena 10 minutes per day or less, because I honestly just need to make sure I'm in the top 100, and I'm okay with that. Don't feel like investing in them more, just because you just never know when the meta is going to shift, and I'm pretty comfortable getting the cores as I am building them up, and I still have that mentality of resource management here, so hasn't really kind of changed the way I played, and it's also been still very effective, as you can see with my power cores balance. Next up, I would say arguably the most important game mode, especially when you're an endgame player like myself, is Raids. Raids generates the most rewards from any single game mode in the game. It's also the most coordination involved with your fellow alliance too, because day in, day out, you're going to be going through and making sure that you coordinate to get the associated rewards. And actually, I do have quite a bit of fun in it. It's repetitive, but it's quite fun when you're coordinating with your alliance mates, generally spending about 30 minutes. They added the auto raid sim, which is really nice because it can save time. But if you guys are in the late game stages of Doom 3.4, you're gonna find that there's very few nodes that you can auto, and generally you're playing for each node seriously, so that way you're not wasting any energy. So I typically spend about 30 minutes bare minimum per day, or more, just because I am playing through each node seriously, and I ensure that my teams are good to go, and especially when we're trying to hit 60% daily. Next up, War. Fortunately, this only happens 3 times a week, but when it does happen, it's generally about 20 minutes a day as well, excuse me. And the 20 minutes is really selective based on how involved you want to be, depending on the alliance you're in. I would say that one's definitely more optional. If you guys are more active in alliance, this is definitely a heavier aspect of the game, but overall I don't think naturally, because it happens 3 times a week, it's gonna limit some of that screen time you have, especially on the weekend. I'm very grateful they don't happen on the weekends when a lot more things are happening with family and friends and so forth. But yeah, generally I would say 20 minutes or longer. And then Cosmic Crucible, another game mode that was really, really fun when it first came out, guys, and I had a blast with it, but now it is getting quite repetitive with the teams that you see, so it almost has become a lock work where you're basically just trying to counter teams and trying to get through your battles 3 times a week again. And generally with those ones, yeah, I'm up against some pretty competitive players every time it seems. So I mean, a lot of cookie cutter teams that you have to counter, but generally, again, 20 to 30 minutes. Overall, then that gives me pretty much an hour to an hour and a half per day. And again, it could be less because I ruled out, War and specifically Cosmic Crucible, so they could decrease your average depending, right? So keep that in mind. There's like a flux there, which is not bad. But keep in mind too, I've also included the other aspects of the game. So this would be the daily objective. If you guys are not level 64, you are definitely spending more than 1 to 2 minutes doing the daily objectives, right? The daily objectives would be like going through and claiming, doing the heroes battles, villains, doing your 2 times arena battles, real-time arena. All that probably amounts to 20-30 minutes a day if you guys aren't at least level 64. And I know that from my alternate account, because the moment I got it, man, I was just delighted that it was pretty much instantly granted to my account. So I feel like they can lower that threshold, to be honest, if they want to kind of make it more friendlier for those starting out in the game, because even getting to level 64, you still need to grind quite a bit to maximize the XP. And this is where it gets kind of challenging, guys. It's pretty much an uphill battle after this point. So we factored in that it can already take about an hour and a half, depending on where you're in the game. And then you also couple that up with the events, and then the monthly events, and then when we do have it, we do have Dark Dimension if you're not done up to Dark Dimension 5, and then we also have the pretty intensive Scourges. Now keep in mind, the Scourges are pretty dependent on where you're in the game, but generally it's going to be more of the end game player, so you won't have that later. But when they do happen, it's quite intense, especially if you haven't done it yet, and you're trying to do the best you can. Overall, it's quite time intensive if you want to maximize and push your leaderboard score. So guys, there you have it. Screen time right now, an hour to hour and a half, and it could be, that's the bare minimum, plus monthly events that could happen. And don't even get me started where they have events coming out where it's basically just blitzing, right? I mean, overall, this past week has been really good in terms of a break from the game, because there hasn't honestly been too much going on. Even if you check the milestones right now, it's been really chill. The Strike Salute has very much been just claiming the tokens to get the free points. Commander's Cash, you can just be spending gold and you'll probably just hit getting the featured item or the 5-star Okoye, and that's pretty much what I'm going for. But yeah, guys, let me know what you think in the comments below. I mean, overall, right now, I feel like they can do a better job of cleaning this up, because especially with War and Raids, there's got to be some better instances where they can kind of automate a bit of that, because I don't think it's going to be reasonable to keep the screen time sustainability going forward. I mean, it can be a fun game, but at the same time, if you're just doing this day in, day out, I think the fear is that a lot of people are going to feel it's a chore and an errand. And as you know, chores and errands, if it's something you don't enjoy, you're probably not going to want to maintain or upkeep it, right? And that's probably the risk right now with the game, because if you have a lot of folks just doing that, they're going to be losing interest and wanting to do other things. Like I said earlier, not everyone's working from home. Not everyone has a full-time job, and they usually play the game just to have fun and kind of, decompress. But if you're getting the opposite of that from something that's meant to be leisure, that's really where the challenge is going to be, right? So I definitely echo those concerns as well, because I really enjoy this game, but I have to admit, it's feeling more and more like a chore where you're just going through and kind of making sure that you're checking off all the boxes and maximizing it. So what can they do, guys? Like, some suggestions. What can they do to improve the ultimate economy and state of the game right now? I think they've done quite a few things as of late to kind of help out. Like, I mean, more specifically, you go to the campaign. I mean, adding these hard mode versions of Heroes Assemble and Villains, I think these are great ways to kind of segue to more potential characters being farmable. A lot of them are repeats. Like Maria Hill's already available in the War Store. We got Hela already in Villains. And we have Emma Frost already available in the Milestone previously, right? Before. So, I mean, these are great opportunities to kind of take away those notes from them and then add other characters. It was a great way to kind of add, additionally 6 nodes into the game that they can kind of change that going forward. I think that'll be huge for farmability. But what can you do about the quality of screen time that's going in each day, right? Well, I mean, if we think back to that screenshot I showed earlier with the bulk of the time being in Raid and Crucible, what if, or even in War, right? What if there's a way, for example, even in War, when you're going through, is there not a way that we can just automate and sim a battle? you know, they've already kind of pushed that through specifically. Oh, sorry, this is the defense side. They've already pushed it through in aspects like blitz and raids. So I think if there's a way they can automate that too, it's just gonna buy a lot of people a lot of time back. And another thing that I was thinking about actually, you know, off the top of my head with their Alliance raid specifically, you know, they've done a great job, especially Gamma, Alpha, and Beta. It's been absolutely such a game changer to have these raid modes being available where you don't spend much time anymore. Definitely took a lot more time before this raid sim came out, so this was a huge game changer for sure. But there can always be another step taking forward. So as I noted earlier, you know, the Doom 3 raids are extremely competitive, and you can see even then when we're checking on my alliance mates, you can see that if what happens typically is now that we have the resets, you can technically use your energy, but then it won't record any of the damage, so you can retry later on. That's kind of what happened here with my fellow alliance mate. But what happens if they implement something such as, like, you know, you're able to beat a node without any of your allies dying? And that gives you the chance to auto sim the next time, 100%. So that way you don't ever need to rely on RNG. Or how about maybe an instance where if you beat this node a certain number of times, let's say like maybe 10 times, you personally defeated it, that unlocks the feature of actually being able to 100% auto win it. And we know it's not something that's new to the game, because if you go here, right, you go through the Heroes Assemble, you go through any of the campaigns that you've done before, it's possible. When you do the 3-star unlock, you know the auto wins are possible. It's not based on RNG anymore. So we know it's in the game, but the question here now is, how can these folks help us in a way where they can build something as a measurement, so that way we can show to them that we've beaten them with enough proficiency and experience that we deserve to be able to auto win this, because it can very quickly change that 30 minutes per day in raid to something that can take us 5 minutes. And that would be actually a huge game changer, because we already saw the impact of that when raids first came out. The auto raids came in. Same with blitzing, right? Another feature. You know, I was complaining earlier about how the blitz heavy events are brutal, but you know what? It's only getting longer, because the more teams you have, the more blitzing you're going to have to do. The more blitzing you're going to have to do, the more rotations you're going to have to do. The more rotations you're going to have to do, well, boom, it's just going to be a never-ending grind, right? But what happens if they create a feature where, you know, a certain number of blitz wins, or some kind of measurement, right, metric, that will allow us to actually be able to blitz all the battles, maybe blitz 10 battles at a time, or blitz 20 battles, or 30, or maybe blitz all the teams at once. How simple would that be, right? It's a feature maybe that may not be available to all the players until a certain X level, which is totally fine, but something to give that incentive, because the issue is that as you progress in this game, the grind just gets harder and harder. So that means you're asking for people to be, you know, fully engaged from the beginning, to continually build towards that investment, and at the same time, more screen time is heavily invested as you build out, especially in a game where time in the game is really going to kind of, you know, set you apart from the other players, right? You know, a lot of the powerful players in the game are the ones that have been in the game the longest, versus those that start out later and have to probably use money as a catch-up mechanic. And that's not a position you ever want to put players in, right? That's the thing. So, I mean, those ones are really obvious, guys. Blitzing, raids would be really obvious. If they can add some automation to Cosmic Crucible and War, anything that really helps decrease the screen time, because you're really thinking about it not from a daily perspective, but how much time are you spending in the game per week, you know, per month, right? If we're doing an hour per day, and generally everyone's going to be wanting to upkeep it, because we have the daily streak now, where this is essentially allowing us to maintain the raid sim, the streak milestones, all dailies. That means most folks are probably playing, you know, nonstop, 30 to 31 days straight. And that's a big deal, guys. That's a big deal. So I hope you know, out there, Archangel watches this video. Feel free to forward it along to folks that you think that may be interested. But I think it's just something that needs to be addressed, guys, because I really care about the long term of the game. I love the game. It's something that kind of picked me up from a very dark place in my life when I started. So for that, it always will resonate me going forward. And I even made a YouTube channel on it, and that means a lot, right? But I obviously care about the longevity and how it's going to be the outlook's going to be. And, you know, I want to be able to play this game in a year or two or longer, just because I love the MCU and I love what this game has kind of done in terms of bringing those characters to life. So in terms of that standpoint, I really do hope they kind of take a look at what's made them successful And at the end of the day, really reflect that it's the players that make the game, not the other way around, right? They can care about revenue all they want, but at the end of the day, you're not going to have a community. You're not going to have a happy, setting for gamers if no one wants to play the game at some point. So, yeah, hopefully this gets out there, guys. Hopefully, folks out there will be able to kind of pass this along and more better changes to come, right? Because I definitely feel that decline, and I want to keep on playing, guys. I love the game. But hopefully there's change out there soon, and I know there's a lot of things to be looking forward to, but a big aspect of it is that screen time, what we're investing in, isn't really getting rewarded, and especially these monthly events that just require so much time from a month-to-month basis. They need to dial it down, that, or maybe some of the folks that are working within the company to play this game for themselves and see how heavily demanding it really is, right? Anyways, just my 2 cents, guys. I hope this video is able to help you guys shed some light in terms of what can potentially be expected. I personally hope some options like this will come in the future, because I think that would be a game changer and definitely add back to our daily lives, especially meaningful quality time back. So thank you as always, you guys. Do appreciate you checking my videos, and I'll see you guys in the next one.